Some lessons don't come from books. They come from bruises.
They come from life.
There is no substitute for experience, period.
Some of the biggest successes were a byproduct of failure.
If you want to learn, build, and grow,
Why not learn from somebody who's already paid the price for success?
the wisdom is in the gray.
This is the Greybeard Show.
Greybeard Show. Learn,
Build.
grow.
And welcome to the show. You're listening to the Greybeard Show. My name is Shawn Davis, but in case you didn't realize, in case you didn't know, just in case it wasn't quite clear, I go by Greybeard. And you're along with me as I'm talking about life change. I'm talking about mentorship. I'm talking about coaching. I am a coach. I am a mentor. I am a 3-time, 7-figure separate entrepreneur. I've created 3 different businesses. And I don't say that to toot my own horn. I am a recovering narcissist. I just say that so that you understand that I've been a guy that has done business now for 35 years and been very creative, had some massive, massive success, but had some equally massive challenges and we'll call them learning lessons. Some people call them failures. I'll call them learning lessons. But today is all about you. It's all about you out in Radio Land because I am launching a very, very special challenge. It's called the Greybeard Challenge. I'm going to tell you all about it and how to connect and how to be involved. But it's effectively, well, let's just get into the content, right? Let's just get into the show. I'll give you a little teaser of where I'm going with this, all right? So there comes a moment in life when you wake up and realize that nothing is wrong, and yet nothing feels right either. The world around you looks exactly as it should. The job is steady. The bills are paid. The relationships look fine from the outside. But somewhere underneath the familiar rhythm of the morning coffee and the hum of routine, there's a quiet dissonance. You can't name it at first. It's not loud. It doesn't announce itself. It just kind of lingers. That faint sense that something essential has slipped out of reach. It happened to me after years of success, years of building, years of chasing goals that once lit me on fire. I remember walking into my office one morning, everything in its place, everything I had worked on all around me, and feeling absolutely nothing. No spark, no excitement, just stillness. Not peace, but emptiness, dressed as peace. I sat there for a long time trying to shake it off, convincing myself it was fatigue or stress or that I just needed a break. But deep down, I knew it was something else. It was the ache that comes when you've built a life that looks full but feels hollow. It's a strange thing, drift. It doesn't come crashing in. It slides quietly into the spaces you stop paying attention to in life. You don't notice it at first because it feels safe, predictable, easy, familiar, but comfort can be deceptive. It can disguise itself as success when in truth, it's the slow settling of a soul that's forgotten how to dream. I used to tell myself that busyness was purpose, that motion was meaning. I'd fill every hour with projects and people and goals, thinking that constant movement equaled progress. But what I eventually discovered was the notion, without direction, motion is just noise. You can be running full speed and going absolutely nowhere. Hence, being on a treadmill. One morning, long before sunrise, I couldn't take the stillness anymore. I slipped on my shoes, walked outside. The air was cool, and the only sound was the gravel under my feet. I didn't have a destination in mind. I just needed to move. I just needed to think. I just needed to breathe again. That walk became the first of what I now call the Greybeard Mile. Not a mile measured in distance, a mile measured in honesty. A mile of reckoning, a mile of facing what I had avoided. Somewhere between those slow steps and the first hint of dawn, I realized something that I'll never forget. Drift doesn't happen because you're weak or lazy. It happens because you stop listening. You stop listening to that small, insistent voice inside that whispers, there's more for you. There's more to your life. The one that used to drive you when you were young and bold. That one that believed your life mattered. Over time, life gets louder, responsibilities, deadlines, noise, and that voice becomes harder to hear, but it never disappears. It waits. That morning, as I walked, I could hear it again. Faint, but steady, cutting through the fog of everything I thought I was supposed to be. It said, this isn't about success anymore. This is about becoming who you were meant to be. This is about purpose. And that's when it hit me. The hardest mile in life isn't the one we walk on the road. It's the one between who we are and who we're meant to be. That's the distance that breaks most people, not because they can't walk it, but because they convince themselves they don't need to. If you've ever felt that quiet ache, that restless sense that you're living a smaller version of your life, you're not broken. You're just being called. That ache isn't your enemy. It's your invitation. It's the signal that the drift has gone on long enough and that something inside you is ready to wake up. That was the morning I began my return, not to my old self, but to a version of me I had forgotten, a version of me yet to be born, a version of me yet to be curated. Every morning since then, I walk that mile again. Now, every day, almost 10 years now, as a constant daily reminder that I am moving forward toward becoming who I was meant to be, my purpose. Each mile forward is a reminder that comfort is the cage and movement is the key. And if you've ever felt that way yourself, if you've got that quiet stirring, that ache, that whisper inside that says, you know what, you were meant for more. Here's my challenge to you. I've got a 4-week transformational challenge. It's called the Greybeard Challenge. Okay? 4 weeks of coaching with me, group coaching, intensive study, learning about yourself, learning about 7 key areas of your life: faith, family, friends, fitness, field, fun, finance, doing an assessment in each of these key areas to better understand what plates have dropped, what plates have fallen. See, many of us out there are explaining so many different plates in life. You got to be a good father. You got to be a good wife. You got to be a good business person. You got to be a good employee. You got to be a good steward. You got to be a good parent. You got to be a good brother, sister, son, daughter. All those plates, all that activity, all of it spinning. And some of you out there have let those plates drop. So here's a guaranteed life change opportunity for you. Join me on the Greybeard Challenge. All you need to do is take out your smartphone right now, text CHALLENGE, CHALLENGE, challenge to 84503. We'll send you all the information on it. But it's a challenge, 4 weeks, where at the end of the 4 weeks, you complete the work. Here's what, I'll do you a solid. I'll even give you your money back. So you buy into the challenge, you got to have a little skin in the game, go through the 4 weeks, transform your life, give you some tools that you can live by, and I'll even give you your money back. Can you believe it? All you need to do is take out your smartphone and text CHALLENGE to 84503. One last time, text CHALLENGE to 84503, and we'll send you all the details and all the information. But let's get back into it here. It's strange how losing yourself rarely feels like loss when it's happening. No explosion, no final straw, no obvious moment where you can say, that's when it began. Drift, it moves slower than that, almost politely. It slides in sideways, whisper soft, and before you realize it, you've spent years living half awake inside a life that once thrilled you. For me, it began in the most ordinary way imaginable. A few skipped workouts, a few dinners, eating, standing up at the kitchen counter because I was, quote unquote, too busy. A few conversations with my wife where I nodded but didn't actually listen because my mind was already sprinting toward tomorrow's problem. Nothing sinister, just small exchanges of presence for productivity. You'd never notice it from the outside. My business was humming. My phone never stopped buzzing. People kept telling me how driven I was. But the truth was that drive had quietly turned into drift. And drift, when it's dressed up as success, is hard to confront because it still pays dividends. I remember one night, the kind of night that sneaks up on you after a long string of them. The house was quiet, everyone asleep. I sat in the living room surrounded by the trophies of life that should have felt satisfying. Polished wood desk, laptop full of deals in progress. I should have felt pride. Instead, I just felt nothing. It was as if the air itself had weight. My eyes landed on the family photo that had sat in the same spot for years. I looked at that smile on my face in that picture, bright, easy, real. And I realized I hadn't seen that man in a very long time. That's how drift announces itself, not through crisis, but through contrast. You catch a glimpse of who you used to be, and it hurts. So you do what achievers do. You double down. You tell yourself that a new goal will fix the unease, a new project, a new revenue target, a new adventure. You pour gasoline on a fire that's already burning out, hoping the smoke will look like progress. For a while, it can work. The calendar fills, the adrenaline returns, and people keep clapping. But late at night, when the noise dies down, the ache is louder than ever. That's when you begin to understand you can't out-achieve emptiness. I used to think meaning came from motion. Keep moving, keep producing, keep proving. But motion without alignment eventually turns to friction. You grind through the days until even small victories can feel heavy. You start to confuse fatigue with fulfillment. And because fatigue feels earned, you convince yourself it's noble. That's the slow fade. It doesn't break you. It erodes you. One unnoticed compromise at a time, again and again and again. I've sat across from dozens of men and women who hit that same wall. Executives, parents, athletes, entrepreneurs. It doesn't matter what stage or title you wear. Drift is an equal opportunity thief. It steals from the ambitious and the apathetic alike, and it always begins with the same phrase: I'll get back to myself later. Later never comes, because later is where drift lives. I kept promising myself I'd slow down once the next milestone was hit. But milestones, they multiply. You reach one and three more appear. So instead of pausing, I built speed. I felt productive until I didn't. One morning, I woke up and realized I couldn't remember the last time I'd felt joy without accomplishment attached to it. Think about that. Some of you out there in Radioland are feeling that right now. When's the last time you felt joy without an accomplishment attached to it? That realization hit me harder than any business setback ever could, because success without joy isn't success. It's survival with a little branding. The irony of drift is that it loves achievers. The more capable you are, the longer you can pretend everything is fine. You can sustain the image long after the spark has gone out, and the world rewards the image. It applauds your consistency, your results, your composure. Nobody claps for awareness. Nobody throws a parade for humility, but that's exactly what you need when drift takes hold: humility. The courage to say something is off, and it might be me. I learned that humility on a Sunday afternoon. I was supposed to meet friends for golf, but inside of me, something said, not today. I drove instead to a lake near home, parked the truck, and just sat there. The water, glass still, the kind of stillness that exposes your own restlessness. I sat there until the silence stopped feeling awkward and started feeling like truth. I pulled a notebook from the glove compartment and began to write. Nothing structured, just whatever surfaced. Out came 7 words that changed everything for me. The 7 pillars of life, the 7 areas I definitely wanted to focus, the 7 areas of life that have meaning, everlasting meaning. Faith, family, fitness, finance, friends, field, which is what you do, and fun. I used that framework with clients before, but this time it wasn't theory. It was more like a confession. I rated each category of my life, not by public perception, but by my own private reality. Faith, well, I had neglected that. Family, I was present, but really majorly distracted. Fitness, 40 pounds heavier. What fitness? Finance, man, I was thriving. Work, success in finance, that's the reward, right? I was making money. Friends, well, those had been left by the roadside. You know, my path to success had meant I had abandoned friends. I didn't really have any. Drifting. Field, the work itself, successful, but it felt hollow. It was not rewarding. It felt more like I was caged. Fun? I actually laughed at that one. When was the last time I'd done something just for fun, just for the joy of it? The page, it didn't judge me. It just revealed me. That was my wheel of truth. Bent, uneven, almost broken, but still rolling, wobbly, bad. And it hit me that life's weight wasn't from failure, but from imbalance. I'd built a wheel strong enough to carry the load of my ambition, but too warped to travel smoothly. Every bump felt bigger, every hill steeper. Awareness didn't fix it overnight, but it did give me a map. I could finally see where I had stopped putting in effort in my life. Awareness hurts, but awareness can also heal. You can't steer what you refuse to see. In the weeks that followed, I made a small, almost laughable, simple commitment. 10 minutes each morning to realign those spokes of my wheel of life. Sometimes that meant a prayer instead of email. Sometimes a walk instead of a meeting. Sometimes calling an old friend instead of scrolling news. Tiny acts of recentering myself, and something remarkable happened. Momentum returned, not as speed, but as a steadiness. Drift thrives in denial. Direction begins in truth. And the truth was, I didn't need a new life. I needed to rediscover the one I'd been too busy to live. And the more I slowed down, the clearer the path became. Most people think change requires massive upheaval of their life, but real change begins quietly in the decisions to notice where you are. Not who you are, but just where you are in life. Once you notice, you can't unsee it. You start recognizing drift everywhere, in conversations that lack presence, in the way people brag about being busy, in the constant hum of dissatisfaction that lives under our modern chase. The world trains us to sprint, but the soul moves at a walking pace. That's why the Greybeard Mile matters so much to me. It isn't about mileage, it's about mindfulness. Every morning I walk that mile. Sometimes, man, I just can't get enough of it. It recenters, rebalances me, reconnects me. 1 mile to check the alignment. 1 mile to remember what matters. 1 mile to ask, am I becoming more of who I'm meant to be or just more efficient at who I used to be? The answers aren't always flattering, but they are freeing. Because the moment you face the truth, you reclaim the power to change it. Drift tells you you're stuck. Truth reminds you that you're still steering your ship. And maybe that's where you are right now, somewhere between awareness and action, feeling the pull to do something different, but not sure where to start. That's okay. Every comeback begins with a little confusion. The important thing is not clarity, it's commitment. Commitment to noticing, commitment to movement, commitment to do something different, however small. Commitment to 1 honest mile. Because here's what I've learned. The slow fade only wins if you stop walking. Keep walking, and drift doesn't stand a chance. And if you like this, if this is resonating with you, if you feel something in your spirit, let me invite you to take on the Greybeard Challenge. 4 weeks, transform your life in a meaningful way, guaranteed. Here's the thing. I'm doing this challenge to help as many people as possible awaken to how much maybe they've drifted in their life and realign themselves to those 7 key pillars of life that matter. Faith, family, friends, fitness, field, fun, finance. 7 pillars that you can build a successful life around. Because if your definition of success is making a whole bunch of money, but you lose your family, you lose your faith, you lose your health in the process, that is not my definition of success. Nor maybe is it yours. You need a recalibration. You need a realignment. That's what the Greybeard Challenge is all about. Take out your phone right now. I'll send you some information on it. We'll send you a link. Here's what you need to do. Text CHALLENGE to 84503. Okay. Here's the best part of this challenge. Okay. If you do all 4 sessions, complete the work, 90 minutes a week for the next 4 weeks, group coaching, you're paired with an accountability partner. I lead the discussion. If you do it all, the money you spend on the challenge cost will be returned back to you, guaranteed. Okay. No risk to you. You got to have a little skin in the game to start. Keeps you honest, keeps you working through the progress of the content that we're going to curate for you. But at the end of the 4 weeks, we will give you your money back. Check it out. Text challenge to 84503. One more time, text challenge to 84503. There comes a point in every journey when awareness is no longer enough. Seeing the problem isn't the same as facing the problem. You can know you're drifting and still keep your hands loose on the steering wheel. But then there's the moment, the mirror moment, when denial no longer works, when the reflection stares back and refuses to blink. Mine came on an ordinary Tuesday. Nothing catastrophic happened. I wasn't in crisis. I was just shaving. The bathroom mirror fogged slightly from the shower, and in that blur, I saw 2 versions of myself layered together. The man I was supposed to be and the one I had quietly become. The first looked alive, sharp-eyed, intent, with purpose. The second one looked, well, tired. Competent, yes. Reliable, but dulled. And it hit me like a wave. Competence had replaced passion. Reliability had replaced risk. For years, I had told myself that growing older meant trading intensity for wisdom, passion for patience. And maybe that's partly true, but I realized what I had really done was trade fire for safety. Wisdom doesn't dull you, it deepens you. Safety, though, it sedates you. I stood there, razor in hand, thinking about how many mornings had passed exactly like this. The same mirror, same routine, same man performing the same motions without meaning. It felt almost holy, like confrontation, like God had been waiting for me to stop long enough to actually see myself. The whisper that had followed me on those early morning walks came back again. This isn't who you are anymore, but it's not too late. I sat that razor down and stared. I could feel both versions of me, the restless achiever and the awakening soul, wrestling for the same space. One wanted to prove, the other wanted to become. One ran on fear, the other on faith. And for the first time in years, I didn't look away. That's what the mirror moment does. It strips away the justifications, the titles, the excuses, the metrics of success. It doesn't care how well you're doing. It cares whether you're becoming. Most people avoid that moment because it's painful. It requires humility to admit that the person in the mirror may not match the story you've been telling yourself. But that pain, whatever you feel, that pain isn't punishment. It's permission. It means there's still something inside you worth fighting for. In the silence, I started to trace the pattern backward. Where had I first lost the edge? It wasn't one event. It was a series of quiet surrenders. The day I said yes to work when I meant no. The conversation I postponed because vulnerability felt inconvenient at the time. The times I chose comfort over curiosity, they all seemed small, forgettable even decisions, but together they had built a version of me, a life that I had built that was efficient but yet exhausting. What you need to understand is the mirror, it doesn't lie. It reflects every trade we've ever made. I thought about the people who depend on me, my wife, my sons, my team, and realized how easy it is to lead others while quietly abandoning yourself. Leadership without authenticity becomes performance, and performance, no matter how convincing, eventually collapses. That realization hurt, but it was a clean pain, the kind that heals rather than corrodes. It didn't feel shame. I felt clarity, and clarity, I discovered, is its own kind of mercy. I walked outside afterward, the sun barely up, breathed deeper than I had in months. It wasn't a movie moment, no soundtrack, no sudden burst of motivation, just air in my lungs, cool, alive, and honest. That breath felt like repentance. Not the religious kind, but the literal meaning of the word, to turn around. That was my mirror moment, the turning. Here's the truth that emerged from that morning, and I offer it to you gently now. You cannot become new while defending who you used to be. You cannot become a new version of yourself doing the same things that you've always done. To change your life, you have to change how you live, both in small ways. The smallest of ways has the biggest meaning, but in mid and big ways too. You can't cling to old definitions and expect transformation. At some point, you have to admit that what once worked no longer serves who you are becoming. You see, the mirror, it demands honesty. Honesty demands courage, and courage demands movement. When you finally stop negotiating with drift, when you acknowledge it, when you face it, you'll find that fear loses most of its power. Fear feeds on ambiguity. It thrives in the fog of maybe later. But once you decide, really decide that you're done sleepwalking, done with this non-performing, non-enlightened, non-soul rewarding version of yourself, something inside reignites. That's the beginning of what I call breaking the chains. We talk about this in the Greybeard Challenge. I specifically walk you through some steps to break the chains. For me, those chains weren't made of tragedy or trauma. They were made of habits, subtle, respectable, socially rewarded habits. The habit of always being in control. The habit of saying yes when I should have said no. The habit of pretending everything was fine. Those chains are invisible until you feel how heavy freedom actually is. I'm not here telling you that I overhauled my life overnight. Far from it. Instead, though, I began a quiet rebellion. I started telling the truth in conversations and commitments in the mirror. I said no more often than I ever had, but each no created space for a truer yes. It was saying no to a whole bunch of other things that filled my calendar, but saying yes to me, saying yes to my life, saying yes to my family, saying yes to my faith. I stopped filling silence with noise. I began scheduling solitude the way I used to schedule meetings. I walked more, prayed more, listened more. A little awkward at first, but then something shifted. That still small voice, the one I'd been ignoring, it grew clearer. It didn't shout, it guided. It reminded me that peace isn't the absence of noise. It's the presence of alignment in your life. I remember one evening, weeks later, sitting on the back porch watching the sky turn gold. My youngest son came outside, sat next to me, and asked what I was doing. I said, just watching the light change. He nodded, leaned back, and we watched it together. 5 minutes of silence. 2 heartbeats slowing into sync. That was the moment I realized the man in the mirror was changing, not fixed, becoming. People ask me now how to start their own comeback. I tell them it doesn't begin with goals. It begins with a glance. Look honestly at your reflection, not the filtered one on social media, not the identity that pays the bills, the real one, the real you. Look until the noise fades and the truth shows up. Then ask one question. What have I been pretending not to know? That question, it can save your life. It saved mine because pretending not to know is how drift survives. Awareness without action is how it thrives. But once you name what's real, once you name that you've drifted, once you name and acknowledge that you've become somebody that you did not set out to be, that somehow your life evolved into something less than, that's not rewarding, where you're a ghost person. Yeah, you're alive, you're walking around in a skin body, but there's an empty soul. See, you feel the weight of denial fall away, and underneath it, something ancient stirs, the memory of who you've always been. That's really what the mirror moment is about. Not guilt, not shame, but remembering the fire, remembering the vow you made to yourself before the world talked you out of it, remembering the version of you who still believes change is possible. When you find that person again, hold their gaze, let them know you're coming for them. Every mile forward from that moment is a reunion. Every step a reconciliation. The next morning, I walked my Greybeard Mile. That air smelled like renewal. I could still feel yesterday's clarity humming in my mind, under my skin. With each step, the world seemed sharper, the colors brighter. Nothing outside had changed. Only me. I had started to change. But that's the secret. Once you change the lens, the landscape follows. Drift doesn't survive in truth's light. It dissolves. It fades away. And what's left is possibility. That's what I want for you. Not perfection, not another checklist, just the courage to face the mirror and start walking again. Because every awakening begins with one honest look and the decision to keep moving. And let me just say, if this is at all resonating with you, if you feel like something in you needs to change, let me invite you to the Greybeard Challenge. Okay? 4 weeks, 4 transformative weeks to change your life in a meaningful way, guaranteed money back. Here's the deal. Sign up for the coaching program, 90 minutes a week for the next 4 weeks. Starts on November 11th, 11/11. Okay? So 90 minutes, Tuesdays at 6 p.m. starting November 11th, 11/11. Okay? Spend 90 minutes with me for 4 weeks. Okay? Do the work. Get your money back. There's no financial risk. Okay? What do you have to lose other than the tormented, potentially silent, soulless version of you that has taken hold of your life? For some of you, that's it. For some of you, it's just beginning. For some of you, you've been in this phase for a while now. If you don't do something different, what will change about your life? I invite you to join the challenge. Text challenge, just that word challenge, to 84503. We'll send you the link, everything you need to know to get involved. Okay? Text challenge to 84503. I want to help you because I used to be you. I want to help you become a better version of yourself. I can help through a curated curriculum, 90 minutes a week for the next 4 weeks, and complete it, you'll get your money back. No risk. Check it out. Text challenge to 84503. Let's talk about breaking the chains next. You see, the moment you see the truth, you expect freedom to feel immediate, like the scene in a movie when the hero throws off the shackles and walks into the sunlight. But real freedom barely begins with light. It begins with resistance. After my mirror moment, I assumed clarity would make the next step easy. It didn't. It almost made them heavier, because once you know the truth, you can't unknow it. And every time you act against it, you feel the tension in your bones. You feel the friction between who you are and who you know you're supposed to be, or who you were meant to be. And that's what the chains really are. No external barriers, but internal contradictions. The war between what you believe and what you tolerate. For a while, I tried to live in both worlds. But by day, I preached balance, purpose, intentionality. By night, I answered emails I didn't want to send and accepted commitments I didn't believe in. It was like trying to breathe underwater, possible for a few seconds and then panic, right? Freedom isn't won in one declaration. It's fought for in 1,000 small decisions. Each one feels insignificant, but together they form the shape of a new life. At first, I didn't realize how loyal I had become to my own captivity. Comfort had its own gravity, and I mistook its pull for stability. I kept certain chains close because they felt familiar. The chain of control, the chain of over-responsibility, the chain of reputation. They had all served me once. They'd all helped me succeed. But once you acknowledge that they are chains, it's hard to ignore them. But once I did, I felt it compelling to evolve. That was the hardest truth to face, that some of my strengths had become my shackles. Control had given me success in business, but it also robbed me of wonder. Perfectionism kept me sharp, but it also kept me exhausted. Competence in my craft, in my career, in my skill set made me respected, but it kept me isolated. When everything depends on you, nothing truly connects to you. I began to notice how fear disguised itself as responsibility. I said yes because I didn't want to disappoint. I worked late because I didn't want to feel replaceable. I stayed busy because stillness might expose the cracks. The world, well, it'll reward you. It praised my discipline, but what they called discipline was really bondage dressed in achievement. One night, I found myself in the garage long after everyone had gone to bed. I wasn't working on anything. I was just sitting there, staring at the floor. It was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional tick of cooling metal, but my mind replayed the same loop. You can't stop. You can't let go. If you stop, it all falls apart. You can't stop. You can't let go. If you stop, it all falls apart. That loop, you know. Some of you out there know. You feel the pressure. You feel the weight of the world. You think, I can't stop. I can't let go. If I stop, it's going to fall apart. But you see, in that quiet moment, there was another voice, a softer voice that interjected, a softer voice that broke through that loop, that said, maybe it's supposed to. You ever get consideration of that? Maybe it's supposed to fall apart. That line hit like thunder in my chest. Maybe the life I'd built needed to fall apart so something truer could be built in its place. Breaking the chains starts with doubt, the holy kind, the kind that questions the stories you've outgrown. You start asking dangerous questions about yourself and your life. What if success isn't the same as fulfillment? What if productivity isn't the same as purpose? What if being in control is the very thing keeping me from peace? These questions, they don't free you instantly, but they do loosen some of the links to the chains. I wish I could say I handled the process gracefully. I didn't have any structure like we're trying to provide with this Greybeard Challenge. I just had to white knuckle it. I did not handle my process of evolution and change gracefully. Some days I felt invincible, others I felt foolish, but change, it rarely looks heroic in the moment. It often just looks awkward. You stumble, second guess, backtrack. You long for the simplicity of your old chains because at least they were predictable. There were mornings I'd wake up full of resolve and then maybe by the afternoon be knee deep in old habits. It took me a while to realize that relapse, it isn't failure, it's feedback. It's the soul reminding you which chains still have weight on you. So I learned to watch myself with compassion instead of condemnation. When I slipped, I didn't hide it, I examined it. Why did I say yes when I meant no? Why did I reach for distraction instead of discomfort? Each answer revealed another link in the chain, another fear, another place where I hadn't yet trusted myself or God enough to let go. Started writing letters I never sent, one to the man I had been, thanking him for his effort, but releasing him from the duty of being me anymore. Another to the man I was becoming, promising not to abandon him the moment things get hard. That practice became a ritual, my way of speaking freedom into existence before I felt it. There's a myth that transformation is about becoming stronger. It's not. It's about becoming softer in the right places, more willing to surrender what no longer fits your life. Every chain I broke left a bruise, but it also a scar that could feel sunlight again. Over time, I began to recognize the battlefield. It wasn't out there. It was inside of me, between fear and faith, between control and trust, between who I was and who I'm called to be. That war doesn't end. It just changes terrain. Most mornings, I still feel the echo of those chains, the temptation to overwork, the urge to fix, the instinct to prove. They don't vanish, but they do weaken. And every time I chose presence over performance, the sound of breaking chains, man, it can be beautiful. There was one particular morning that marked the shift. I woke before dawn, same as always, but instead of grabbing my phone, I stepped outside barefoot. The sky was the color of possibility, dark blue, surrendering to the light. I walked the gravel road behind my house, slow and deliberate. With each step, I said, almost under my breath, I release. I release. Over and over like a prayer, I release. I released the need to be impressive. I released the pressure to know what's next. I released the fear that freedom might make me lose everything. By the time I reached the end of the road, my shoulders had dropped. My breath had deepened. That was the moment I understood the paradox of the Greybeard Mile. Every mile you walk outward frees a mile within. Freedom, I realized, is quiet. It's not a shout. It's a sigh. You don't notice the absence of change until you try to move and discover nothing's holding you anymore. And then, only then, do you realize how strong you've become in the gentleness, how fierce you've become in peace. Breaking the change is not a one-time act. It's a daily choosing. Each dawn asks the same question. Will you serve fear today? Will you fall back? Are you paying attention? Are you curating a life on purpose that you want to live? Are you engaging your faith? Some mornings, fear still wins, but faith never leaves. It waits for the next breath, the next mile, the next moment of courage. When people ask me what freedom feels like, I tell them it feels like breathing without justification. It feels like walking without armor. It feels like finally trusting that you don't have to carry the whole world to be worthy of living in it. And maybe that's the invitation for you, not to fix everything overnight, not to burn it all down, just to notice where you're still gripping a link that's already broken. Loosen your hand, breathe, take one step forward, because every step you take away from fear is a declaration. I am free. So let me invite you to join the challenge. I've lived that life. I've been through it. I've been through the fire. I've come out the other side. I have been reborn. I am a guy that sought chasing business and money and all the worldly things, that's how you're supposed to do life. That's how you become impressive. That's how you become quote unquote successful. In the process of doing that, in the process of building business, in the process of being a 7-figure entrepreneur, in the process of creating and creating and creating, I didn't realize how much of the other dimensions of my life I had lost. You're talking to somebody that has lived through this. Let me be your guide. I invite you to join the Greybeard Challenge, okay? 4 weeks, transformative coaching, changing your life, guaranteed, money back at the end of the 4 weeks. Here's all you need to do is text CHALLENGE, CHALLENGE, challenge to 84503. The challenge kicks off on 11/11, November 11th, 2025. We'll meet Tuesdays for 90 minutes for 4 weeks. Pay for the course. Get your money back at the end when you complete the course. Okay, that's my commitment to you. I want to help as many people as possible change their life. I want to take the whole money concern out of it. Buy the course, move forward, do the work, go through the process, get your money back. Learn something immensely valuable about yourself in the process. Text CHALLENGE to 84503. Take your smartphone out, go to your texting app, key in the number 84503, and then just key the word CHALLENGE into it. Okay, we'll send you a link with more information. CHALLENGE to 84503. After you've wrestled your chains to the ground, the silence that follows, well, it can feel a little strange. For months, actually almost 2 years, it took me almost 2 years to decompress out of my financial services business that I sold. Okay, I didn't realize how much weight it had put on me. See, for months, maybe years, maybe your life was a battle. You were constantly reacting, fighting what held you back, resisting what tried to reclaim you. And then suddenly the noise stops. The fight is quieter now. You can hear your own breath again. You can feel the space between thoughts. That silence is both beautiful and dangerous because this is the moment when many people stall. They break free, but they don't build forward. They stop fighting, but they never start creating. They escape the prison, but forget to design a life beyond the gate. That's what the challenge does. That's what the Greybeard challenge does. I remember those first few weeks after everything changed for me. I had confronted my reflection, faced the fear, loosened the grip, but now I was standing in an unfamiliar place, in unfamiliar territory. Freedom without direction can feel like drift in disguise. I knew what I didn't want anymore, but what did I want to move toward? Who did I really want to become? One morning, as I began another slow walk down the road, the Greybeard Mile, my ritual of reflection, a mile a day, every day, coming up on almost 10 years, no misses. Okay? It's a daily commitment to myself, a reminder that I am becoming a better version of myself. I'm walking away from who I was and toward who I want to be. I realized that breaking chains isn't the end of transformation. It's the beginning of ignition. The purpose of freedom is movement. You can't just let go. You have to lean forward. The road that morning was slick with some dew on it, and the light was just starting to climb over the hills. I could hear the rhythm of my steps, steady, deliberate, alive. Every step whispering a truth. You've already survived the hardest part. Now, build something worth living for. Every step repeated. You've already survived all of your worst days. You've survived all of the hardest part. Now, build something. Build a life. Be proactive. Live with intention. Live on purpose. Curate and build a life worth living for. That's where the fuel comes in. Fuel isn't just motivation. Motivation burns hot and fast. It's like adrenaline. Fuel burns steady. It's built from meaning. It's what keeps you moving long after the applause has faded, long after emotion has cooled. Fuel becomes everything. Fuel comes from clarity, gratitude, and purpose. For me, it began with the smallest rituals: a glass of water before coffee, writing one line of a gratitude journal before I open my laptop, sitting outside for 5 minutes to breathe before I face the noise, throwing a ball for my dog in the morning for 15 or 20 minutes to give to my pet who has given so much to me. These weren't self-help tricks. They were reminders. You're alive. Pay attention. Be engaged. Live on purpose. I started noticing how good the air smelled after rain, how sunlight hit the kitchen counter, how my dog's tail wagged like pure joy just at the sight of me. It sounds simple, maybe even a little cliche, but after years of racing, head down, doing the worldly thing, trying to become successful in life, slowing down enough to notice beauty felt like worship. Gratitude became fuel. It didn't erase the hard stuff. It reframed it. Gratitude reminded me that every challenge I'd survived had carved a capacity into me. It taught me to stop seeing obstacles as punishment and start seeing them as resistance training for the soul. Here's the paradox of growth. Once you stop fighting yourself, the energy that used to go toward resistance becomes available for creation. You don't get stronger by adding weight. You get stronger by learning how to carry it differently. For years, I had been fueled by fear of failure, fear of irrelevance, fear of not being enough, fear of not being successful, fear of losing it all. That kind of fuel is corrosive. It burns everything around it. But Gratitude changes the chemistry. Gratitude transforms into devotion. It converts obligation into an opportunity. The second ingredient after gratitude is discipline. See, most people misunderstand discipline. They think it's punishment or control or rigidity. But discipline, rightly understood, is more like devotion in motion. It's love with a schedule. It's the way you prove to yourself that what matters most will always matter, even on the days you don't feel it. When I first started rebuilding, I chose 3 disciplines, small, consistent acts that would keep me anchored: physical movement, spiritual grounding, and service to others. Move the body, quiet the mind, and do something for someone who can't repay you. Those 3 things became my rhythm, the new heartbeat of my days. There were mornings I didn't want to do any of it. Days when the old gravity of drift pulled me back. But that's the secret. Discipline doesn't require enthusiasm. It requires consistency. The fire comes later. The third piece, the one that reignited everything, was connection. I'd spent years pretending I was fine on my own. That lone wolf. I even took pride in being, the guy out chasing opportunity, wearing independence like armor. But armor is heavy, and solitude isn't the same as peace. Once I started reconnecting with friends, with family, with God, everything accelerated. You see, when you walk alone, your excuses echo loud enough to sound like logic. But when you walk with others who are also rebuilding, they call you forward. They see what you forget. They remind you of who you are. I was one of those people with close friends that I had forgotten. And I wanted to reach out. I wanted to have those conversations with a close friend. Fuel and fire. So I did. I started using that mile to connect with friends I had forgotten or not connected with or had ignored. You see, you've done the work. You broke the chains, but where's your fire now? That question stuck. For days, I kept turning it over. What's my fire now? What's the thing that makes me come alive, not just survive? And I realized that purpose isn't found in grand declarations. It's just not. It's revealed through small consistencies. Every time you do something aligned with your truth, who you want to be, the fire grows. Every time you honor your word, the fire strengthens. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, gratitude over complaint, movement over stagnation, your flame gets brighter. And here's the beautiful thing about fire. It's contagious. When you start living with energy again, people feel it. They don't always know what changed. They just know you're alive again. They sense something different. They understand that there's been a shift in you, a shift toward the positive. Your presence becomes permission for others to wake up too in their life. That's what the Greybeard Challenge is really about. It's not a self-improvement project on its own. It's a reawakening. It's about rediscovering your fire, your rhythm, your design, your connections to others. It's about proving to yourself that you can live intentionally, powerfully, purposefully on purpose without drift, without an apology. Fuel, fire, forward motion. That's the rhythm now. When I look back, the biggest shift wasn't external. It was internal. I stopped living defensively and started living deliberately, living on purpose. I stopped trying to manage outcomes and started mastering input, my attention, my energy, my focus. And that's what I want for you. And so as I close out the show now, I'd like to one last time invite you to explore and look into our Greybeard Challenge. Reclaim your life, reclaim your passion. 4 weeks, 90-minute sessions starting November 11th, 11/11/2025. 4 weeks to change your life, 90-minute sessions, curated examples, homework to do, an app that you have, accountability partners that will be in the process. And all of it, if you complete the work, do the challenge, you'll get your money back. You will get your money back. Here's how you learn more. Text challenge, take out your smartphone, key in the following number, 84503, like it's a new number for a friend that you've just met. Instead of it being 10 digits, it's 5 digits. Key in 84503 and then text the word challenge to it. We'll send you the information, everything you need to know to register, everything you need to know to learn about what's going to happen. Text challenge to 84503 because you want to stop drifting. Text challenge to 84503 because you don't want to be a ghost person anymore. Alive in skin, but empty in soul. See, the world can do that to you. If you don't pay attention, if you're not aware of the drift, if you're not aware of how far you've fallen from who you set out to become, it can make you empty. So let me invite you one last time as we close out the show. Take out your smartphone, key in 84503 in your texting app, hit challenge and hit send. And rest assured, my friends, I'll be back here same time, same place next week to talk more life change. This Greybeard out. The Greybeard Show.
The Greybeard Show.
Learn,
Build.
grow.